You don't need to go to Niagara Falls when you can eat some fried balls.
What's going on, NASCAR diecast collectors and diecast reviewers on YouTube? This is Original Big Bri here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys with another new episode of the NASCAR Diecast News, guys. Yeah, we are finally back here with episode 160, guys, and we are closing in for this 2016 NASCAR Diecast season. As season 6 of the NASCAR Diecast News is almost about to come to a close, guys, so we do got a few more episodes to show you guys of your weekly NASCAR Diecast News for the rest of these next 2 months of the 2016 NASCAR Diecast season. And of course, we got the following of our newest releases for our newest diecast releases from our good friends at Plain B Sales, K-State Diecast, and Lester's Diecast. A good amount of diecast that we are going to show you that has been in the past 2 weeks that you might have missed on the last episode of the NASCAR Diecast News. And of course, we also got some new pre-orders for 2016 and 2017, so we'll begin to those very shortly. And of course, we do got a good amount of canceled diecast coming out for this episode as well. We've been pretty low on the cancellations, but now we do got some diecasts that have finally, hit the bucket, and we're going to be getting you all to that and many more of this as the NASCAR Diecast News. So it's right now. But before we do that, guys, we're going to take a look back at what our last episode was of the NASCAR Diecast News with the best-selling diecast from NASCAR Diecast News 159. Alright, everybody, so to kick off this newest episode of NASCAR Diecast News, we're going to start things off with your newly released diecast from our good friends at Plain B Sales, K-State Diecast, and Lester's Diecast. Always highly encourage you guys to check those diecast dealers out, including your local diecast dealers, for any of the newest releases to come. I'm sure many of you guys are pretty lucky, but if not, there's always those 3 options right there to check out if you're ever looking for some really cool dealer to get some good high-quality diecast from Lionel and all the other diecast dealers that are authorized by them. So yeah, we're gonna get on to the newest releases, guys, and we got a good amount to show you guys for 164s and 124s. So we're gonna get the ball rolling with the 164s, because that is what majority of you guys like a lot, very much. But we'll still show some love for the 124s as well later on in this episode with the Race Win diecast. So the first one up is the Jamie McMurray Sherwin-Williams car. I'm glad I said that right for once. Because when I posted this car on Instagram, I got the W mixed up because I thought it said Sherman Williams instead of Sherwin. So hope you guys aren't dyslexic enough to figure that out. But yeah, this car is very similar to last year's. There's only one minor difference to this car that might question or not if you guys do want to get this or not. And thanks to my good friend Derek Lewis, which you can ask the fan 142 on Instagram. Give him a follow. He's an awesome friend. Since he is a big Jerry McMurray fan, he pointed this out, that there's actually a slight difference on this car, and it's basically just the hood. So the paint scheme is basically the same, but there's just a difference in the logo on the hood. Of course, for last year's, it was just a basic Sherwin-Williams car, but for this year, they're representing the 150th anniversary for Sherwin-Williams Paint, if you guys know that as a painting company. So not really too much of a difference right there, but if you got this car from last year, if you got the Sherwin-Williams car from last year, then it might not, you're not really missing that much, that despite it, just being, this is basically just an anniversary car, but it's, there are some slight differences to it, and there also is some sponsorship on the back of the car, like where the decklet is. So if you're really nitpicky about that, then, there is some slight differences, but other than that, it's mostly the same car as last year's. But, if you're a McMurray fan, probably still recommend getting it because it is a McMurray diecast, and I'm sure many McMurray fans out there are quite happy to see that this car did not get canceled, despite it being the same as last year's. So, really cool right there. Next up, we got the Brad Keselowski Miller Lite throwback car, and this is definitely a different change, unlike last year's. Last year's was, actually was a throwback to a NASCAR. But this year decided to go to a different route and do a company throwback, similar like what Kevin Harvick did. So they just reversed the roles right there. So with the beer sponsorship, so what Kevin Harvick did last year is what Brad Keselowski's doing this year. They're doing the company throwbacks for this beer car, and this company throwback is to represent the Miller Lite logo from early 1970, and back then all they did was they called this beer light. So that's a nice little history lesson right there. But I do like the difference on this car. I mean, yeah, I know it's another white car. I mean, I know last year's was just white and red, but this year it's white, gold, and light blue, which is really cool. I do like the difference in this car, and it looks really nice. So if you are a Brad Keselowski fan, I would encourage you guys to get this. Plus, it's also got the colored rims as well, and you can't go wrong with that, especially with the white rims. They look really nice on this diecast. I know it's on a base, but this car, I mean, even though I'm not really the biggest fan of company throwbacks, this one does look really nice, and I like how this car showed up, and even the gold on this car looks really nice. Blends well with the paint scheme as well. The next car, guys, we got some Tony Stewart diecasts. So, for any guys out there who are looking to complete their Tony Stewart collection diecast for this year, we still got many more Tony Stewart diecasts to show you guys. We got his Bass Pro Shops Ducks Limited car, which he drove at the Daytona Night Race. Surprisingly, I do not see the salutes banner on this. I mean, I don't know if they run that anymore at the Daytona Night Race, but regardless of not, it's still a really nice looking car. I'm always a big fan of the Bass Pro Shops cars, and surprised that this car actually made MOQ, because I do remember, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, this car was canceled. So, but since it's Tony Stewart's last year, I see why this car made it, and it does look really nice. It's a nice variation from the traditional Bass Pro Shops cars, so still pretty cool right there. I say it looks a lot more better than the National Wild Turkey Foundation car. At least ducks look a little more attractive than, the freaking turkeys. If you guys don't know, I mean, check out Race Day 2011's review on the 2012 Bass Pro Shops National Wild Turkey Foundation car, and you'll see just how much more loving ducks are than freaking turkeys, especially since we're going to be eating them this month. On a positive note, though, we do got another Tony Stewart car for this release, and it's a Sonoma win car. And this car I know is going to be very hyped, because this could be Tony Stewart's final win in NASCAR. Now, I'm not saying this is the final race car that he's going to be having, because we are also getting the car that he drove at the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So I'm glad to see that they're also going to be making that car. So, but yeah, this is going to be what possibly will be Tony Stewart's final victory in the NASCAR Brickyard Series. And man, it was such a great time to see Tony Stewart back in victory lane with the Code 3 associate sponsors again, guys, because remember, he drove the same paint scheme in 2013, which was his last one before this. So kind of ironic to see that, but this car looks 10 times better, probably 1,000 times better than this Dover race win car, which I know that car had a lot of cafe on it, but this one has a lot of nice race marks on it. And I love how Lionel put the logos, I love how they defected the logos on this to make it look like the car has damage, because they cannot put damaged molds They cannot mold out the damage on these cars because it would be very expensive. I know they do that on the 124s, but the 164s it would be a lot more expensive. But this car has a lot of detail to it, and if you guys do want to look at a closer look on this car, I would highly check out Race Day 2011's review on this car because it is quite a beauty. I think this would be one of the top 5 cars to get for this year for sure, if not probably top 3, because this is, like I said, this would be just as important as Jeff Gordon's last win car because it's another legend that's going to be gone in NASCAR at the end of this year. So definitely going to miss the memories of this guy right here, Tony Stewart, and this will definitely be a diecast to get for sure, especially for both scales. Next car, guys, we got some Kyle Busch diecast, his number 18 Banfield car, and I know a lot of Kyle Busch fans don't know if they're waiting to actually get this car, but this car was canceled throughout the past few years, and now this car finally made it. And probably the only reason I can see why this car made MOQ is because this car was the car who was supposed to win at Richmond, but let's say a certain someone, which is my favorite driver, Carl Everett, gave himself a little bump and run at the end, and cousin Carl got the win, guys. So it would be ironic to throw in the Carl Everett's Xfinity Richmond car in this as well, which I know I usually review the 124s right after this, but had to be a good time to review that in right there. So what better way for Lionel to release both the Banfield Richmond race, the Banfield, wow, I got way too ahead of myself, the Banfield car available in the 164 scale and the 124 scale, and they also released the Carl Everett's Xfinity Richmond car. So I said some irony right there, but you know, regardless of that, you gotta like the Banfield car because it has, you know, the nice little pets on there. I know my good friend Rob and Derek are gonna love that diecast because it has a cat on it, and also have Kyle Busch's dog on it as well. So if you're a big fan of animals and pets, this might be a car to get right here. But if you're a big Carl Everett fan, this would be a good diecast to have because you know, what are teammates for, right? But the Carl Everett's Richmond Win diecast, of course, this is a car I would highly recommend getting for any Carl Everett's fans because this is actually the first car that we have got for Carl Everett's for Joe Gibbs Racing because all of his other cars have been canceled. And hate to say it, guys, they are not offering his Texas Sport Clips win, which is so unfortunate. I know a lot of people are very disappointed at that, but I think it has to go with the licensee with Sport Clips, and plus most of the Sport Clips diecasts have been canceled for this year and last year, with the exception of the Danny Hamlin Sport Clips car. So don't really know the real purpose of that, but very unfortunate. But you know, this would be a really car to get right here. A very, very nice looking car. Just wish they made this in 164, but the regular Xfinity car, but it was canceled. So Carlos fans out there, this is your best bet, and you know, it was definitely, you know, a really cool race and an exciting finish, and maybe that's the only reason why that car made MLQ, which is awesome because we finally get a Carl Everett Racing diecast produced. But you know, he's giving me the Final Four, so who knows, maybe this might not be the last one. We will see. Getting way too ahead of myself right there because I'm a big Carl Everett fan. Next up, we got the David Reagan Dr. Pepper Don's a throwback car. This right here is one of my favorite Don's a throwback cars of this year, and it is a company throwback, but actually, you know what? This is my favorite company throwback car for sure because there's one reason why: the amount of detail they put on this car. If you look closely on this car, and you should check out Race Day 2011's video if you want to look at closer views on this. But if you look really closely on this car where the white is, there's like little gray spots on it. If you're wondering what those are actually variations of Dr. Pepper logos. Old retro Dr. Pepper logos, and they put that into the paint scheme, which looks really cool, and it gives it some nice variation, and it gives it I wouldn't say it's overboard, but it's very unique, and I'm really glad that they decided to do that, especially for a very underfunded team. So props to Dr. Pepper for doing that and putting all their famous logos on there. So that is really cool right there. A diecast I would highly recommend getting. Probably one of my favorite company throwbacks for this year. And to throw in with his teammate, I know I'm going out of order right here, but it's just to go with the flow. We got Matt Benedetto's number 83 Orange Crush throwback car. this is yet another car that I'm really excited about. I mean, of course, it's got the blue rims, which looks really cool. I am so glad that most of these Dodger throwback cars of this year had colored rims. It just makes the car look stand out for sure. Especially if you're also a Broncos fan, this would be the car to get right here. As one of my good friends pointed that out, Ganassi Fan 142. But I also love how the font of this car, like the number font, is also very retro-ish, and the orange Crush logo. So I do like the variation that this car has, and it's also another Matt DiBenedetto car, which is really cool because this is a very unique underfunded car to have. So if you're looking for a Matt DiBenedetto car, I think this would be the car to get right here because it really does stand out on its own. It's personally, I think, one of my favorite underfunded throwbacks that we had for this year. So props to Lionel that they made this diecast in both scales and it was not canceled. So thank God, hallelujah, this car looks amazing. All right, and let's see the best for last. For any Jeff Gordon and Chase Elliott fans out there, we got the probably one of the most unique fantasy cars that we have had for a Jeff Gordon car. So yeah, but when Lionel first showed this car, I thought it was just another catch grab to make some more money off the Jeff Gordon diecast, because they did make a lot of money off the Jeff Gordon diecast from this year. And looking from the renders of it, it looked very weird. It looked photoshopped and all that, but no, they actually did make this diecast. And you know, I do got some mixed feelings about this. I mean, I just think the paint scheme just looks a little funky. I think what would have made this paint scheme work if they would have got rid of the silver, which I know why they had the silver on it, because if you go from left to right, the Rainbow Warrior, which was the first ride that Jeff Gordon had, and then his last ride, which is the Homestead car, and then moving on to Chase Elliott's. What I would love to have is to put Jeff Gordon's the blue car with red flames on it. I think that would have looked very nice, and it would have blended in very well with Chase Elliott's scheme and the Rainbow Warrior. Just, I don't know, the gray looks very funky on this car. But I do get why they put the gray on there, so I'm not going to nitpick on that, but I'm just saying it would have looked a lot more pleasing if they did the if they did the traditional flames on this car with the DuPont car. So it would look so much nicer if that silver was the traditional blue that we had for the Flames car that Jeff Gordon had when he drove for DuPont in the early 2000s. So very unfortunate right there, but regardless of that, I do like the box they have on this. It's a really nice looking box. Almost looks like a promo, but this is a exclusive diecast that Lionel decided to produce, and it is a fantasy car, guys. So this car was not raced, but it is a Jeff Gordon / Chase Elliott car. So if you are a big fan of those two drivers, which I'm sure many Jeff Gordon fans have trans over into a Chase Elliott fan, this would be a good diecast to get right here, just to show the amount of support that the 24 has, and just a really nice looking car, despite it, you know, having some slight problems, but it does look really interesting than what I expected. So that's really cool right there. And to wrap up on the diecast, we get the Kyle Busch number 18 Texas Race Win diecast. Now, I know not too many people were very popular about this win, but you gotta admit, I mean, this car does look pretty nice. I mean, it's got a lot of confetti on it, and it has it has a lot of confetti on it. That's much more to say right there. But, you know, I do love diecasts with a lot of confetti on it. I mean, similar to the Carl Edwards Xfinity Win car, this car definitely, you know, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the interstate battery scheme whatsoever. That's why I was called the Peppermint Patty of Hell, because it's Kyle Busch and he's driving a freaking peppermint car, for Christ's sake. But you know, it's a different looking car. I'll give props for that. And I mean, I don't really see too much race marks in it, but it does look a little different. So if you're a Kyle Busch fan out there, I'm sure this is a car to get right here, because he has not won in the chase yet. So I'm sure this will be a good diecast to support for Kyle Busch, especially if he makes it to the Final Four by the time I upload this video for the pre-race ceremony at Phoenix. So that's pretty cool right there. And tell me what you guys thought of all the diecasts that were released right there. And tell me which was your favorite and which diecast that has not been released yet are you mostly excited for, and so forth.
Alright, everybody, and now we're going to get on to the cancellations, which of course is the biggest turning point in the NASCAR Diecast News episodes. So we got a good amount of cancellations to show you guys. 6 new cancellations to wrap this show up. for the 160th episode of the NASCAR Diecast News. So we're going to start things off with the one and only, guys, Brad Keselowski's number 2 Miller Chase Cup car. And this was unfortunately canceled in both scales. And this was kind of surprising because I kind of do like this new change that they did with the Cup car, with the Miller Lite car. I mean, they did the same thing with the Kyle Busch car because he finally changed his scheme into the scheme that he finally ran. So there was actually a good amount of cars. I think Joey Logano did as well. So Team Penske did change their paint schemes up for this year towards the Chase. And this was one of the cars that he ran at the first round, I believe. I believe he did ran it at the first round. I don't think I saw it the second round, so it was only just on the first round for the Chase. So, but very surprised to see this car got canceled. I really thought that it was either going to make it in one of the scales, either 124 or 164. But I guess people have spoken, and both scales were canceled. So that is very unfortunate right there. Next up is probably one of the most disappointing and probably one of the most, well, yeah, it is disappointing, but very heartbreaking cars to see. Canceled in both scales, the Brian Clausen Tribute car by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. This is such a devastating tragedy. I mean, of course, you know, with what happened with Brian Clausen, it was cool to see Lionel putting this up for pre-order, but I am devastated, so devastated that this car did not make MOQ. I mean, wow, I mean, for a tribute car, that is a first. I think that's the first time we're having a tribute car getting canceled, so that is just so unfortunate, man. And plus, he could have almost wanted this car. He finished second when he ran this car at Bristol. I mean, that's just so unfortunate, man. I think if he would have won the Bristol race, this car probably would have made MOQ, but even with the amount of recognition that Brian Clausen has got in IndyCar and NASCAR, mostly IndyCar, but he also has some slight recognition in NASCAR. I'm very surprised seeing this car was canceled in both scales, so very unfortunate. This is a lost opportunity for Lionel, but can't blame Lionel for this. Not too many people pre-order it, I understand it, but just, man, this is probably one of the most disappointing cancellations that I've seen yet on the NASCAR Diecast News. Just flat out disappointing, and just, man, would have loved to see a Brian Clausen car. Just would have loved to, but very unfortunate the car got canceled. Next up is pretty obvious. We got some Kyle Busch cars canceled because, you know, Kyle Busch is one of the most popular drivers in NASCAR. If you notice my sarcasm, it's probably not that intended well. But we do got both of his Halloween cars did not make MOQ for the 124 scale. The M&M's Halloween car, that was canceled in the 124, in both versions of the 124 scale. So both his standard ARC version and the Elite version have been canceled. And, you know, this car was very, very similar to last year's, so I can see why this car got canceled. Not too many differences at all. It looks the same as last year's, probably besides, you know, the Chase contingencies on this car, because they put the Kyle Busch symbol instead of the just regular name, which I think, I'm not a big fan of the Twitter names at all, so I don't know. That was kind of a fail right there. I was not a big fan of that at all. It's coming from me being a car lovers fan. So, but other than that, I mean, heck, it was the same as last year's regardless. And then the Snickers Halloween car, that was only canceled in the 124 scale only. Sorry about that. And so, still good to see that the 164 version is still available. I mean, this is the first time we're getting a actually, it's the first time we're getting a Halloween car produced for the second time. I mean, we usually have just the M&M's car Halloween car produced, but since that car was canceled in 124 scale, and since now this car is canceled in 124 scale as well, I can see why that happened. But at least we're gonna get a 164 version of this scale, and I probably would think the Snickers car would be the way to go, since the M&M's Halloween car was basically the same as last year's. And the last two cancellations for this episode, guys, is the Matt DiBenedetto. Yep, guys, with the amount of Matt DiBenedetto diecast, it was only a matter of time that these cars would be canceled. And for any 164 collectors out there, you're pretty screwed right now, because his Cosmos Motors pink car has been canceled in the 164 scale only. So it's still available for pre-order in the 124 scale, but for 164 collectors, very, very missed opportunity right there. And I mean, I can see, I mean, this car is basically the same as the Cosmos Motors car, but it's just pink. and we didn't got that much pink diecast produced. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't have a Danica Patrick pink car produced for this year. So usually we have a good amount of cars that ran the pink scheme, but not too many were offered this year. I think this car was just a little underrated, and I can see why it got canceled because there wasn't enough promotion with the breast cancer awareness for pink back in October. So, and plus it's also underfoot driver as well, but still that's very unfortunate right there. Then another car that's canceled in both scales, it's another Matt Zabato car, the NASCAR Heat Evolution. Now, I thought this car was going to make MOQ, but after all the mixed reviews about that wonderful game, oh man, I can't even say anymore. It's a pretty bad game, and I can see why this car got canceled, because bad game, not going to have a good diecast, and people are not going to support a diecast that has a bad game. I mean, I want to give NASCAR Heat Evolution a try, but I just keep seeing the reviews, and it's just god awful. I mean, heck, you're better off playing Forza Motorsport 6 and getting the NASCAR pack for that, which is only $10, so save you a lot of money right there. But yeah, I mean, with all the hype that NASCAR Heat Evolution had, just thought that this car would have brought some more hype to it, but after seeing all the reviews, like I said, it's definitely gone down the tubes for sure, and I can see why this car got canceled in both scales, because it's has a bad reputation, just like the sponsor it has, NASCAR Heat Evolution. Well, that's more I gotta say, guys. But that's gonna wrap up for the cancellations, guys, and also gonna wrap up for the NASCAR IKS news. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys give this video a good comment, like, subscribe, and for more on any NASCAR IKS news, guys, I highly appreciate that, guys. And we also got the I also got a big announcement for NASCAR Diecast News. We got the Season 6 finale coming up soon, guys. Tune in next month on December 31st for the Season 6 finale, which is basically showcasing all the 2016 diecasts that were released from Lionel Racing, the multi-car packs, promo diecast, and NASCAR Authentics. And plus, we'll also have something towards the end of that includes you guys. I'll give more info on that on social media, so feel free to check in on my social media for the NASCAR Diecast News. Check out our Instagram and Facebook for more updates on that. I'll probably continue more updates as these episodes go on, but until then, guys, this is Original Big Bryce signing off. Thank you guys so much for watching the NASCAR Diecast News, and we'll see you guys on another episode of the NASCAR Diecast News very soon. So until then, guys, this is Original Bryce signing off, and so long for now.